There's a moment on the path where all the seeking, all the fixing, and all the striving fall away. And what's left is just presence. Today, I sit down with Safa Roberts, an energy medicine practitioner and spiritual guide who shares what it means to stop trying to heal and start truly meeting life as it is. We talk about the exhaustion of always being the healer, the hidden cost of spiritual bypassing, and the deep medicine of sitting with what is. Safa shares her journey from chasing healing through techniques and plant medicine to discovering that the most sacred offering is simple, steady presence. If you've ever wondered why all the inner work still hasn't brought you the peace that you're after, then this episode is for you. Safa Roberts, thank you so much for coming on the Oracle podcast. I'm excited to talk to you and learn more about your journey. You are one of Oracle's practitioners. You are an energy medicine practitioner. You're a spiritual guide and you do lots of work all over the world. I know you're currently in Peru, but thank you for being here. I'd like to start off by asking you, in this period of your life, what is your mission? What are you here to accomplish?
Yeah, that's a deep one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it changes over the years, But I would say now when I sit really deeply, I think the mission is to be able to show up to whatever it is that I'm offering with somebody in the deepest presence that I can. And what I really mean by that is, for a lot of years, especially in this work where people are in the role of helping other people, is we kind of can bring our techniques and our offerings to the table and expect that, we want to get from A to B in a certain amount of time, or say something super clever, or like take a deep ownership of what it is we're doing. And, I think as the dissolution of your identity progresses over time, there starts to develop a deeper trust that there's something greater that wants to come through, right? And specifically for that person. And I think when we can get to a point where we can really set down any kind of identification with what we're doing and really just open to this person in front of me and show up 100%, it's really incredible what can come up when we give absolute presence to somebody that we're with. Even if, in life, it's very rare that we get someone to sit with us in full presence where their nervous system, you can feel, is fully there. And to me, what I'm learning over time is that offering in itself, just showing up with somebody in full presence, is probably one of the most powerful things we can do. So, now it's about, I could say, I had a course of my life that was very much about trying to be the helper, trying to do the energy, trying to fix somebody, trying to make them feel better, and it's over time, over the years, I've really learned, it's not about that. It's about actually allowing that person to be with everything that's going on in full openness rather than dropping into refusal. Right?
Yeah.
And so me, that's the biggest mission, is how can we sit with the pieces that are still in refusal and bring them home and help them remember their true nature. Right? So that can be applied into whatever the offering is, whether it's sitting and having a conversation with somebody, whether it's plant medicine, it doesn't matter, but it's how do we show up in the deepest way possible? So that's really where my attention is focused.
That's beautiful. And I mean, it goes for anyone, right? You don't have to be a spiritual practitioner to do that. It's just being present with somebody and listening and being there and being a witness. Thank you for that. So let's talk about your life. What would you say that have been some of the themes for you that have recurred in your life that you have struggled with, that I suppose you came here to live and learn from?
Yeah, I mean, I think like everybody, there was, as I talked about before, right? It's finding all the places where we see insufficiencies in life, right? That is uncomfortable. I don't like that. I want to get away from this. I want to move away from that, and then coming into that spiritual journey that we all come into, right? To really sit with those questions, and there's an onslaught of all different ideas of all the ways that we can fix ourselves, and it can go on forever, and at the beginning of my journey, I got into energy medicine because I was trying to literally, in essence, to get away from the anxiety or to get away from the depression or get away from, the places of myself that I didn't want to sit with, kind of thing, right? So, got into the energy medicine, and it was a lot about trying to sweep away the energies, trying to cut the cords and doing all these things where there's kind of a a subtle refusal to what is, right? And that went on for some time, and eventually I started getting interested in, more absolute existence, right? Like what does non-duality have to teach? What does being with things have to teach? But at the time, this is about maybe 15 years ago, I was so in my head trying to figure it out. And I see this a lot, right? The mind is very, very living in this bandwidth of personality structure, and it definitely wants to know, and it wants to understand, and it wants to like make it our own, and then I can know it, and then I can offer it as my offering, like it wants to claim it. And so, I was able to understand what I was able to understand at the moment, but that was it, right? And then I went into the next phase, I would say, would be diving deeply into the dualism of plant medicine and the shamanistic world, right? Where it's very much about that opposite energy and clearing out the bad spirits and doing all these things, right? Like, which also is an amazing place to learn, to go into the Amazon and apprentice there, like to really learn what it is to sit with the enemy, and ultimately the enemy with yourself, right? Because I feel plant medicine is an excellent mirror for showing us where we're very much locked in duality, right? It's like, I'm absolutely terrified of this thing that the medicine is showing me, and I just want to turn away or get rid of it or clear it or move it, or blame someone else or whatever it is, right? And it's a great testing ground, but also at the same time, it's very easy to get stuck in the story of the thing I'm trying to get away from, the identification with the discomfort that's coming up, because in those situations, the discomfort is very alive, right? And so it's very easy to create stories about why that discomfort's there. And you could stay in that bandwidth as well of, I need to drink to feel better. I need to drink to clear the things out. I need to drink to purge out what is here, right? Because there's still some subtle refusal. And this is kind of the theme that has been going through, right? Like there's still a subtle piece. And even as a practitioner, and I see a lot of people that face this, is like the tiredness that you can experience at the end of sessions, right? Or I've been contaminated by the client I'm working with, or my energy feels depleted after doing all this work. Like there's a lot of this kind of energy too, right? Like where there's a piece of me that's still subtly refusing what's coming at me, even in working. And that question became so big towards the end that I had to step away from it and be like, okay, like what is this here? Like I've drank all this plant medicine for years, and there's still pieces that are like insufficiency. And I got super curious about that question, like why? Why is that? Why am I not healed?
Yes.
And so I look at it as like, here's this guy trying to figure out the absolute. And then this other piece that goes into, we could say, the Shakti, the expression of life that is always there and forever changing, and we never can get away from it, right? It's always there, the good, the bad, all of it, right? And it's this last phase, I would say, is like, how do I unite the two, right? How do I sit in the absolute where I'm allowing all of this life force to come to me without coming into refusal of any of it, without coming into contraction, right? And one of the biggest pieces, two things I've really uncovered, is like the mind is a big piece where we start to narrate when there's discomfort. What if I set down the struggle? What if I do that? What happens? And what happens if I allow, instead of feeling like I have to get away from something, it's like, what if I have the energy to stay and to feel fully whatever's coming to me in life in full openness, rather than feeling like I have to protect or I have to. And coming from the shamanic world, it was a big leap, because we get told all the ways that if we don't protect, we're in trouble, right? But again, subtle refusals, right? And so here's the Divine Mother wanting to give me everything, but there's pieces of me saying, nope. And so opening that door to everything is opening the door to everything. It's big, but it's been incredible.
It's really interesting, because being in this line of work, I do come across people that are kind of in the search. They're doing the work, and they really are doing the work. They're facing themselves day in and day out, but they somehow still don't have what they're looking for, because I don't know why. I mean, it's kind of what you were saying. I think a lot of it is trying to figure it out with the mind, and it's just, there's a space where the mind can't go. It's just, it isn't a mind thing. It is very much a heart thing, but there's still that need to figure it out, to make sense of it, right? And also, I think that some people have the student in them very strong, like they want to get better, they want to improve, they want to learn, and that it almost doesn't allow them to just learn it because they're trying so
Well,
hard to figure it out, right? I don't know
get
how to
it,
express
right?
it.
Well,
Yeah.
I think of like in my 30s, like I wanted to learn this technique and that technique and this technique. And then if I have all the techniques in my tool belt, I can meet whatever someone will bring to me and I'll have the solution. And it's funny because there's still an ownership there and what an exhaustion if I have to come up with the solution.
Yes.
Right.
But how do you do it? How do you let go of that? Because some people do struggle. I mean, they do want to be in peace and comfort and just flow with life, but they don't know how.
The nervous system kicks in, right? It's like, because whatever's inside of us doesn't trust the silence, right? We step into the silence and all of a sudden there's that fear of annihilation or a feel of abandonment or feel like I'll be homeless if I don't sit and constantly problem solve, right? We've never been taught that there's actually some super conscious intelligence beyond just this minimal band of my thinking, right? And so, what I share with people in the beginning is like, let's practice that just for a little bit. What if you take something that's really big going on in your life that's causing a perpetual anxiety, a perpetual rumination, and lie down in your bed for a while, and literally just give it a presence without trying to solve it, without trying to fix it, without trying to narrate it, and just observe, As that starts to come and starts to develop that trust in that, because you start to see actually what unfolds in the body. Like even giving that body the immense presence for 15, 20 minutes without the need to solve, because that need to solve right away is that rejection, right? So a great example I can give is like, I've done calls for years, coming and talking to people and again, showing up, whether I'm doing it with myself or in a call, being like, okay, I need to come up with a solution for this person to feel better. It's my responsibility. And instead of doing that, leaving all that and just saying, I'm just going to show up and let that super consciousness move through, right? But it takes an immense amount of facing the stories inside that want to say, oh, what if I fail? What if I mess up? What if I this and that, right? So it's like putting your toe in the water a little bit more every day. Right. And it has to start with yourself. So that's what I say. I get people just to lie down on their bed and say, what if I just give this thing presence? And a lot of the time it just unwinds, because it's been seen. So that energy, that Shakti, that life that wants to be seen so much and is never seen, it gets louder and louder and louder and louder unless we actually show up and give it that attention. And as soon as it's seen, it's like, and it calms down, right? Simple. I thought it was way more complicated than it is.
What's simple is sometimes complicated. What's complicated is simple.
We want to complicate it, right? We want to complicate
it. Yeah. Sure. Let's go back to 2005. I know you had an experience that was kind of the catalyst for your spiritual journey. Can you share what happened in that experience and how that led you to your spiritual path?
So this is when I met my first teacher. And again, it was that same thing, like just carrying a lot of pain, a lot of, and being really, really, really lost in it. Like there's no way out. I see no solution to all the pain that I'm experiencing, which so many of us can relate to, right? It's like that. And when I met my teacher, she started just doing literally some cleansing of the energetic body. And I still think this is really important because like when we are engaging in life and we're so identified with things, there's an incredible amount of entanglement that's going on, right? Like I feel like you're giving me this and I have to lean in or I'm leaning back. And there's just this, like when I'm still in deep identification, our energy bodies get really dirty, right? And they shut down. And so I'm literally looking through this like dirty windshield and trying to find happiness, right? I'm in contraction and I'm in reversal, but I'm trying to like open and be open to life, right? It just doesn't really work. So it was the first time that I met somebody that really was able to say, okay, let's see what happens when the energy body is cleansed. And I'd never experienced that before, right? It was like literally someone came in and washed the windshield in the deepest way. And in that purification, right, it immediately makes you wonder like, well, who am I? If I'm not all the pain and if I'm not the addiction or if I'm not the this and that, right? Like that can be, I can get some relief from that. Obviously we start to say, okay, well, if that's not who I am, who am I? And in that, there is such a deep expansion. And, the teacher was the first one to do that for me. And I remember at the end of the session, like just looking at her and she had literally like stars in her eyes. That's how I perceived it. And she just looked at me and she said, now you know. And I think it was the first true taste I had of experiencing myself not so limited, right? And I think ultimately this is what all of these spiritual practices eventually point us towards, is like breaking down our perceived limitation of who we are, right? Because if we perceive ourselves as the field rather than this individual identification, like we have access to everything. The wisdom that needs to come forward in a call with a client or a session with a client, like if I'm everything, it's all there anyway, right? But it's just like breaking down those limitations over time. And that was such a profound step for me, and just, catalyzed this whole journey. Yeah.
So what was your life like before 2005? And what were you struggling with?
Oh, yeah, it was pretty dark, I was, working a corporate job. I was exhausted. I saw no hope for the future. I was in active addiction for sure. Just trying to escape, trying to figure out like why I felt so bad, and I went to not healer, but necessarily like psychotherapist after therapist. And it was just kind of like, felt like I was running in circles with stories, right? Like trying to run around a maze, but there was no exit kind of thing, right? And especially if you're lost in the realm of mind, like this, you can't get out of the solution, right? So it was like that. And, literally if I hadn't met my teacher, I think at the time, I don't know where I'd be now, if I'd even be alive, honestly. And I think that experience of meeting her and seeing that there was a way out, like there was nothing else that to me felt more important than is there a way to help show other people this door that I've been shown,
Yeah.
And, back then it was very much trying to own it and do it. But, as things progress, right, it's like, oh, okay, that's the orchestrator, but I would love to be there to watch that happen, to watch that unfold in real time with another, right? As it's happening in myself while I'm talking to somebody, even deeper levels. Yeah.
So you had tried different things. You had tried, I suppose, traditional therapy, but this was different, right? And this, I suppose, led on to other things. How did the journey unfold from 2005 to doing the work that you do today?
Yeah. So I started with the energy medicine, and that was incredible and such a big opener, right? Because it showed me that we're so much more than just this physical body, right? So even giving myself that agency back then to be able to cleanse the energetic field, right? So that in itself was like, oh, okay, there's something that can be done here. And then doing that work with other people and seeing the reflection in them was, wow, amazing. And then at the same time, a couple of years later, I started getting into plant medicine, and that was extremely potent as well, because it was like, oh, okay, it again took another lid off of what this reality is, right? So again, taking the limitations off. And I think that was a major turning point to be able to start asking questions of, again, who am I kind of thing, right? So I definitely stayed in those veins for a long time. And also got into yoga, like I just basically everything, like just trying to, like I said, in my 30s, just trying, in 20s, trying to digest, like, what are all the things I can learn kind of thing, And then, after that thing that I talked about the non-duality kind of like hitting a wall and that, and then I went to Peru, diving deep into medicine apprenticeship. I spent many, many years doing that. So that was definitely another big door for me. I think just meeting myself over and over again, like I said, like meeting where I'm facing the enemy or where I'm facing the other, and starting to learn how to integrate that. And spent a lot of time doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd like to say something about plant medicine, because I've done quite a few things, I think, and there's a space for this, and I wish that it would be spoken more of, to be honest, because it's something that I would happily do with my children. There's different things, you would know them all, but I think that it is time that we start talking about it. I really wish it would, in most countries, be I don't even know if it's criminalized or what the story is with, the different things, but
most countries,
most countries it is, I mean, I used to help host ayahuasca sessions for a while. But all of them, whether it's mushrooms or, whatever, there's a lot, done in a very safe space, because let's be honest, I mean, it can be mistreated. It can be, people could take advantage, I suppose, because you're in a vulnerable space. But
100%.
In my experience, if we also trust ourselves with the practitioner that we're with, we know that, well, let me put it this way. you need to be very comfortable, you know, with who you're going to do it with. But I wish it was more open, and I wish more people spoke about it, and that it was legal because it is a really beautiful thing that helps so much, especially when traditional methods don't, you know, because what is legal and traditional is to go to the psychologist and to talk for hours and hours about whatever it might be. And I think that there's a place for that, and I think that's very helpful. But there are some aspects of us that we can't reach with traditional therapy. And with these modalities, you can. And it's so healing. And so I'm very pro, done in a very safe way with people that know what they're doing. I'm very pro all of these modalities. And so if somebody listening to this is curious about it, again, do your research, check who you're going to do, you know, the different things with, but go for it because it is so worth it. And I think oftentimes it's just one session. And I've seen it multiple times. Many people only want to do one session, you know, it's not like you're going to do this forever and ever. Like, just do one.
But it plants a seed. It plants a seed within your soul that it's just like, oh, like I am more than I perceive myself to be.
Absolutely.
And that sense of freedom in itself and the questions that it spurns in your life, it's incredible, right?
And you know what's so great about it is that you can read 1,000 books and you can understand the theory, but a lot of these experiences are very much, wow, like you feel it, you know it, and you can't even explain it to somebody else because it's unexplainable. Words sort of diminish the experience. But when you feel the spirit there's nothing that can take that away. And then once you know it, you know it. And it really does change everything because you start living life from a spiritual way. I mean, a lot of my experiences with plant medicine have been absolutely pivotal in getting me to where I am today. And I'm so thankful to them. I mean, that the gratitude is like the one word that comes to me when I think about my experiences. So grateful for each and every one of them. Incredible. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And it has such an intelligence to meet each person where they're at, you know, because I look about where it met me, you know, 20 years ago versus now. And it's like, it's incredible that it's able to meet exactly where I need to go, you know, and it's like that thing I said where like in plant medicine, sometimes the experience comes on and it does take you out of that realm of mind. And for some people, they've never been out of that realm of mind to see, you know, all the infinite consciousness, the wisdom, the knowledge that's there, right? And for the first time, you get that taste of like, there is an infinite pool of knowledge that I have access to, right? And that experience is like, oh, okay, like I don't have to be the problem solver. This is all around me all the time. And it's like a matter of how much we let it in, you know? And I think with the plant medicine experience is like, as you become more relaxed in that void, in that total, you know, sea of potential, more can come in, right? More can come in. And so part of the journey in the beginning, is learning how to be comfortable in that void, which is what I talked about, you know, earlier. Like when we set the mind down, that's the same void. It's the same unknown, right? But plant medicine is a fantastic way to meet that within yourself. And especially like when you're in an environment where you're held that people know what they're doing, like it's a really great way to crack into different parts of yourself, you know, in a safe way.
Yeah, I recommend it. That's all I can say. Really recommend it. I mean, I will do it with my children. I did it with my mom. I did an ayahuasca session with my mom. She was 70. She was 69, 70, I think. I said, Mom, you got to do it. I promise you, just come with me. And she did it twice with me. And I don't think children need it, but like one day when my children have enough problems, I'll take them. I'll say, come, it's time.
I love when families come. It's really important to see.
Yeah. And I think also with that, as you know, I say children come, you know, it is something that has to call to you, of course. You know, it is when you're ready. I mean, nobody should take you to do something like this.
No, 100%.
It's a
and I see that some people will bring their partner and their partner really doesn't want to be there. And the experience is not, it's not, you know, sometimes they blow open, but a lot of the time it's just like, there has to be that deep inner calling and also to not the intense fear. Because I find some people think from fear they want it, but there's too many barriers in the way, right? So sometimes it's really good. If that's the case, you know, go see someone and drink a very small amount or sit in the ceremony and let your nervous system feel everything without even drinking the medicine, right? So I think, you know, it's important that is offered to you. And if someone is not offering that to you in the beginning, if there is a lot of fear, these sort of things, like it's probably not the right place. Right? Like there's no rush to get anywhere. Yeah.
But talking about the sessions that you do online, you're a little bit different to the traditional practitioner, because I know that you usually require a photo or the name of the person, and you do some work not online. Or actually, just run me through one of your sessions.
Yeah, I mean, I love having both, you know. So with Oracle, I actually offer like, you know, a Zoom connection and the session as well. So, you know, I think part of it is the spiritual healing work. So this is where we have the photo, and basically this is talking about the energy field, right? Like what is going on in the energy field that's causing it to be in reversal. What energy centers are congested and this sort of thing. So it's really like that transmission of spiritual energy that helps to, you know, bring the field into forward motion, open up the energy centers, and just bring a lightness of being, you know. And that in itself is super powerful, because then someone, like I said, it's much easier when the nervous system is relaxed and the light is coming in again, to be able to go into the deeper inquiries about, you know, what do I really need to sit with within, right? Because it's not just someone coming in and doing the energy work and fixing you. It's like, that's, you know, that helps, but can we get on the phone afterwards or the Zoom afterwards and then sit and say, okay, like, you know, what is coming forward that needs to be seen? What is coming forward that needs more light in the contraction, right? And so in the discussions, that's when I really love to sit and inquire, you know, like, where are we in refusal in life, and can we sit with that, you know? Is there a potential to see things a little bit differently and move through life a little differently? And a lot of the times I find those sessions, even the 30-minute Zooms, will be even more potent than the energy work, right? So having the combination together of that connection and then also that transmission, it's like really powerful, you know. And that's been developed over time, of really, like, again, stepping out of the way and just letting whatever comes through for that person, you know.
Who would you say would be your ideal client, the person that would get the most out of a session with you, person who's transitioning what exactly?
Yeah, you know, just in working with people over the years, I really feel like the person who's just, they're at the end of their rope. They're like, I've tried everything, I don't know what else to do. You know, I've tried to find the solution from here, but nothing's really coming, you know. It's like those people that are really willing, like, I'm really ready to do the work. I'm really ready to look at myself. I'm really ready to stop living in my mind, truly. And I think that has to be a real deep impulse from within. And it's not like people who are stuck in their mind can't receive help. Like, that's absolutely okay. We meet everyone with where they're at, but I find that the people that are truly ready to say, okay, the mind is not my escape. I'm ready to look for a different place of paradise on earth, right? And I find those people, when we sit down and we really like, okay, let's get out of here and really feel into where we're going, feel into the body, right? And be with it and stay with it and stay with it. Like, those are the people that I find the so much energy has the potential to come through, right? There's all possibilities, because we're not coming in with just this little plan, right? So I would say, like, yeah, a deep openness and a real readiness to know themselves, right?
And what would you say that you're particularly good at? What's your unique gift?
I would say now, not bringing something to the table and projecting whatever it is onto you. Yeah, like really sitting down with the other and seeing their divinity, being super curious and excited to see what intelligence is going to come through this person that I'm sitting across from, you know? And it's taken me almost 25 years to be able to do that, right? So, you know, and it's not saying the offerings before weren't as potent, but it's taken a lot of being with myself and being super comfortable with, like, all the iterations, the anxiety, the good, the bad, all this, and being able to stay and to stay and to stay, right? And not try to leave you at any point during our interaction, right? And I think, like, when you're able to do that with somebody, like I said at the beginning, even just that 30 minutes is someone really being with me, I don't even sometimes have to say anything, and just, like, the tears come, because it's just the first time the nervous system recognizes presence, right? It's deep.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah,
when someone shows up for
absolutely.
me, when they're really present, you know, this person isn't projecting onto me, they're here.
No, exactly. It's what you were saying at the beginning. So can you maybe share a story from a client that's had a profound transformation?
Well, I mean, I just, like, I've had thinking of my calls this week, you know, again, and it was for me, like, being even in a deeper state of letting go, a deeper state of not showing up with a plan. And, you know, sometimes it's just showing up, and the person thinks that they know what they want to talk about. And I'll be like, what about right now? What about here in the direct experience, right? Like, what is in your body? And I know it sounds so simple, right? But it's like, people think they come with the problem, but like a lot of the times it's like, what's that deeper core thing underneath? And we're just reliving the same story of that, the root of the core experience over and over and over again. And just like allowing the story to be there, but can I find that deeper truth within that, right? And, just I can think like several times this week where someone like thinks they come with one thing, and then we end up in 30 minutes in and there is just tears pouring down their face, and they're talking about, the relationship with their mother and how they can't, whatever, like it doesn't, whatever it is, or the relationship with their spouse or whatever, like, and really getting to that point where they see like it's not about the outside, like in a deep way. And where they really get to that point where they stop fighting the outside,
Yeah.
And once that light bulb starts to come on, like you move through life in a completely different way, because I'm not going into contraction. I'm actually like, whatever is here, can I meet it? Can I meet it? And when we go to that place where they haven't met something before, and we go there together and we're witness together and we just sit with it, like that releases so much sometimes. And again, not with the expectation or the hope to do that. It's just happening. Because again, I'm not trying to do anything, but just like really like, what is the gift of presence? What is the gift of when we set the mind down and just allow ourselves to be the field? So for all practitioners, like the more that we can step into doing that, it's mind blowing. And not even, right? I don't want to death by astonishment. Like it is the nature of reality.
Yeah. So tell me, if you could have everybody in the world just know something about themselves, about their spiritual selves, without a shadow of a doubt, what do you think would be the most impactful thing for everyone on earth to know and embrace?
That the door to the Divine Mother is always open. And what I mean by that is like, I think about like the mother field, are my needs being met? Do I have the money that I need to do the thing? Like, am I going to be supported? Right? Like there's so much fear and scarcity in this life about that, right? And because of our own relationship with our mother or ancestrally, it's been damaged, right? Like there's been that idea that I have to be the one to solve and get all my needs met, because if I don't stop thinking, I'm going to, again, go hungry or scarcity, all those sorts of things, right? But like, if that deep understanding of that door is always there, right? If you really drop into the surrender, really drop into setting this down and just really allow that door to be open. And that door open also means meeting every moment without shutting the door. Everything starts to get met. But we have to start with not going into refusal to all the gifts that are coming into me, right? I like that. I don't like that. That's okay. No, I don't want that. My partner's doing this. I don't like this, but I like when he does that, right? It's that simple. But if we start to be like, there's space for that here too. There's space for that here too. There's space for that here too. I can have preferences, right? But I'm not going to shut down, because I know if I shut down, all those gifts that the mother's pouring in, the sustenance that I need, the money that I need, the things that I need, I'm going to shut the door again. So it's big. It's a big opening, right? But the gifts that come are incredible.
Yeah, beautiful. So maybe like, what would you suggest that people do in order to start dropping into that space? Is there maybe an exercise, an activity, something simple that they could start doing today that would help them to get there?
Yeah. Well, what I would say is I talked about like, we go through life with all these nervous systems that are like, and I think the biggest stage in the beginning is just getting the nervous system to relax, right? And stabilize the nervous system again. Because we can have a fight and for 3 days we're out of stabilization, we're in reversal. So that's the first place, is like, how do I get myself open again? And one of the easiest ways to do that and to be with what is, that I teach people in the beginning. And one of my teachers said to me, it's like, you can do this for 3 full years until you really start to see the benefit, right? So when I get people to do this, I said, try this for a month and see what happens. And so I literally lie on my bed and I put my hands on my belly and I connect with my feet, so I imagine there's energy coming up my feet, because we're energetic beings, right? And the earth brings us all the 5 elements or 4 elements, whatever you think. And I bring it up into my body, up to my heart, down my arms and into my belly. And I let that run. And I say, thank you for the regeneration. Thank you for regenerating me. And for a lot of times, for most people, they'll crash right out and they'll fall asleep because their nervous systems are so tired. And we think that's wrong. We drink coffee, we keep going, we ignore it. But when you really start to meet what is in your body, sometimes you'll fall asleep for a month, 2 months, 3 months, until that starts to stabilize. And then once you're able to stay awake for it, as you're running that stabilization, just starting to meet with what's there. Again, without trying to fix it, right? Anxiety is so loud right now. My throat is closing. I just feel like I can't even breathe. Okay, it's here. It's here. It's here. It's okay. I welcome you home. I'm not trying to fix you, but just presence. And that in itself, once you start to actually meet what's going on without trying to refuse it, once you start to do that with yourself, you start to go like, what's that like when I go out into the relationship with my husband or my children or my coworkers? Am I able to actually just stay without going into narration and allow it to be what's here without shutting down? And it starts to get easier and easier. And then the more you see the benefits of that, you want to do it more and you want to do it more, right?
Yeah.
And then eventually it gets to the point where you're not even having those thoughts because you're not identified with it in the same way. So very beginning, just sitting and being with what is. And I know so many different spiritual teachers, especially in the non-dual realms, that's exactly what they'll say in the beginning. You got to be with what's going on without turning away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Safa, thank you. I'm going to try that tonight because it's almost bedtime here. So I will try that. Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to share? Any parting thoughts?
Just that.
That's a great ending. Thank you so much. You can all take that beautiful deep breath. And here we are. And thank you so much. Thank you for doing the work that you do, for bravely walking your journey and helping others from what you've learned, and for being on Oracle and for being on the podcast.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure.